Today I am going to discuss about international compensation. Before I start with international compensation, we must have a fair idea about international human resource management. Today is the era of globalization. With the advent of globalization, the national labor markets are becoming increasingly interdependent on one another. The labor market should be, rather you can say must be, responsive not only to the changes which are taking place within the country but also to the changes taking place worldwide. At the same time, globalization creates scope for MNCs, and MNCs play a vital role in generating and upgrading of employment and also for the development of human resources in host countries. We very often come across two words. These two words or these two buzzwords are success and competitive edge, and these two words are interlinked. The success of any business, be it the domestic one or if we talk about MNC, both are dependent on the competitive edge. Now, how do they attain the competitive edge? It is only because of the human resource that they can attain the competitive edge. Since we know any product can be duplicated, but it is only the human resource that cannot be duplicated. When we are talking about the human resource, it is referring to their intelligence, their capabilities, their learning abilities, etc. Now, an MNC may have the best of the resources at its disposal, but these resources will be of no use without the human resources, because without human, they can neither be effectively utilized nor they can be transferred to any other host country. An international business must procure, motivate, retain and effectively utilize the services of people both in the home country as well as in the host country. Now, this entire process of procurement, motivating, retaining and effective utilization of human resources in an international business is called the International Human Resource Management, that is IHRM. Now I will talk about the model on IHRM. This model on IHRM was given by Morgan. He has introduced this model on 3 dimensions. In the first dimensions, he had put the broad categories of human resource activities like procurement, allocation and utilization, which we have talked earlier. In the second categories, he had included the different countries where these IHRM activities are carried on. The third categories includes the employees where they work, that is the different categories of employees of different countries. Now let's talk in detail about these employees, because our area of interest is more on this. Now the different categories would be are the first one, host country national, HCNS. The second category is the parent country national, PCNS, and the third category is the third country national, that is the TCNS. Now what is this HCNS? That is host country national. Host country national includes the people who are the citizens of that country in which some branch or plant is located. But of course the headquarters is located somewhere else. Parent country national refers to those people who are working in a country other than their place of origin. Now, third country national is completely different from PCNS and host country nationals. They neither belong to those countries where the service is going on or where the branch is located. Now they are from different countries. So he has illustrated this perspective with the help of a very nice model, which I'm going to show you here. And actually Morgan said, or Morgan defined this international human resource management as the interplay of these 3 dimensions. Move on to the topic, why IHRM? Why HRM has grown so important in the recent years? See, there are a number of reasons for which IHRM has gained importance in recent years. I'll be discussing a few from them. The first one, the most obvious one, is that in recent years there is a rapid increase in the global activity and global competition. As the MNCs are growing in numbers, so the importance of IHRM has also grown rapidly. The second reason is that the major determinant of the success or failure of any business firm is entirely dependent on the effective utilization of the human resource. Other reasons are various researchers have shown that On an international arena, the poor performance of the MNCs may be completely linked to the poor management of the human resources. And also it has shown that there is an acute shortage of the international managers in the international firms. Besides this, there are a number of factors that make the relationship between the strategic IHRM and MNCs a bit complex. And that is why this is the reason why the study of IHRM has become so important. Move on to the heading, the differences between the domestic and international HRM. There is a vast difference between the domestic and international human resource activities. The first point is scope. The scope of IHRM is much broader. If you talk about the scope, IHRM is much broader as compared to the domestic HRM. IHRM has to take into consideration the various things like the laws and regulations of that country, language, translation services, international taxation, international orientation, relocation, expatriate administrative services, etc. The second point is perspective. IHRM requires a much broader perspective as compared to the domestic HRM. Because even the most common HRM activities have to be handled in different ways in the IHRM, because the HR managers in the international firms have to design and administer the different policies differently for different countries. For example, let's take an example. If we talk about Australia and Singapore, if the workload increases, then they increase the number of staffs. But similarly, if we talk about Japan and Korea, if the workload increases, they don't increase the number of staff, rather they increase the number of work hours. Now similarly, in Japan and Korea, again there is a strong conviction that a family man should be paid more as compared to the female who is working than a single woman. But this type of conviction is strongly opposed in the Asia by the female workers. The third point is human resource services. A great degree of involvement in the personal lives of employees is needed in IHRM. If we compare with domestic firms, the HR manager's role is limited there. Here, the HR managers have to look after everything. Besides giving them the basic services, they have to look after the suitable housing facility. They have to look after the education of their children, and also they have to look after the children who are left behind in the boarding schools in the home country. The next point is exposure to risks. If I talk of exposure to risks, the exposure to risk is much higher in IHRM as compared to domestic HRM. Let's talk about the domestic HRM first. What are the risks involved? The first risk is hiring. Hiring practices must be subject to constitutional provisions, which means if hiring practices are not according to the constitution, then they may lead to penalties. And others may be like strikes and labor unrest. But if we come to international HRM, besides the above mentioned risks, there are a number of other risks which have to be faced in the international human resource management. Let me tell you about the different risks which are associated in IHRM. The first risk is the physical safety of the employees who are working in that particular country. The HR manager has to look after their safety, because there may be terrorism in certain countries. Second is, in highly volatile environment, the HR manager sometimes may be required to devise an emergency evacuation procedure. The third risk may be there may be a wrong selection. If the person selected is a wrong one and he cannot perform well, he may have to be recalled, and there may be a huge financial loss to the firm. Another risk is the seizure of MNC's assets in that particular country. If the union leaders, politicians and the government of that country are not satisfied with the policies of MNCs, they may tell the particular company to go out of that country, to leave the country, and they may seize their complete assets. Now I'm coming to the most important topic of this chapter, that is the approaches to international compensation. There are basically two approaches to international compensation. In many books you will find two, but here I will be discussing about three approaches to international compensation. The first one is the budget system, second is the going rate approach, third is the balance sheet approach. Let's talk about the first one, the budget system. The budget system includes all the costs incurred by the employees in both the countries, that is the home country as well as the host country. These costs plus the local tax system forms the basis on which the employee's income is calculated. Besides, this system is very expensive as a lot of adjustments have to be made in this system. The next one is the going rate approach. In this approach, the base salary of the employees is linked to the salary structure in the host country. This system is basically designed to prevent the situation where the junior staff are paid substantially higher than the expatriates. Mind it, to prevent, not that the junior staffs are getting higher, to prevent that situation, this system has been designed. The third one, that is the last but not the least, I'm coming to the balance sheet approach. In the balance sheet approach, the base salary is based on the pay and benefits which are based in the home country. Besides this, some other kind of allowances are also given to adjust with the cost of living, housing facilities and other expenditures. The basic idea behind this is that the spending patterns must be identical in both the countries. Now students, I come to the end of this chapter, that is the international compensation. All the best. Thank you.